I'm here today to discuss the concept of annual percentage rate. And earlier, we discussed the idea of an effective interest rate. Effective, 1 second, let me make sure this is nice and legible. Effective interest rate as the benchmark interest rate, the effective interest rate as the benchmark you could use to measure the true cost of credit amongst potential lenders or creditors. However, the annual percentage rate, the APR, is the best and truest measure of cost of credit. And APR, the annual percentage rate, apart from what it stands for, is equal to the average annual finance charge, divided by the amount borrowed or the proceeds. Okay, so keeping that idea in mind, let's say you're borrowing $1,000, so principal would be equal to $1,000, and the time period is over 2 years. So you could say that T is equal to 2. And then you have a simple interest rate, the simple interest charge, before we compute that, at a simple interest rate of 15%. So I'm going to say R is equal to 15%. Now let's compute the interest charge, as in IC. Well, if we're borrowing $10,000 and we want to find 15% of $1,000 over 2 years, and this is simple interest, not simple compound interest. So 10% of 1,000, again, move the decimal place over 1 decimal place. So that would go from 1,000 to $100. And 15% is just 10 plus 5. Well, half of 10 is 5, so half of 100 is 50. 100 plus 50 is $150. So 15% of $1,000 is $150, but over a time period of 2 years, the interest charge would be $300. Okay, now we're going to use two different methods, the discount method and the simple interest method. Simple interest, INTEREST, and discount method. Okay. So under the simple interest method, again, we're taking the average annual finance charge, and let's put that down here too. We multiplied 150 by 2 to get 300, and as a quick way to remember that, just like if you have $1.50, well, if you pay me $1.50 for 2 days in a row, that's $3. So 150 times 2 is $3. So 150 times 2 is 300. Well, the average annual finance charge, I'll just call that F. Average annual finance charge, AAFC, or average finance charge is equal to 150. So we're going to take $150 and divide that by the amount borrowed or proceeds, which is the principal, $1,000. Okay, so then let's pull up our little calculator. $150, which is the average annual finance charge, divided by the amount borrowed, which is $1,000. That's 0.15, which is the same thing as 15%. Okay, so nice thing is that under the discount method, the stated interest charge is always going to be equal to the annual percentage rate is identical. The APR is identical to the stated interest rate. But is that true with the discount method? Well, let's find out. The discount method, again, we're going to take the average annual finance charge, but this time we're going to take out the actual amount that we pay. So remember, we have $300. That's really the reality is after we pay the finance charges of $300, not the amount we pay, but the actual minus the amount we pay. So in a sense, the actual amount we get. Because if I borrow $1,000, but I really pay you $300, well, then really it's $700. So we're taking $150 and we're dividing that by 700. And what is that? Okay, so 150 divided by 700 is equal to 0.214285. Well, to 0.214285. And then if I move the decimal point over, that's actually going to be 21.4285%. I mean, it's a repeating decimal, but we're going to round. If I round to two places, that 8 is greater than 5. So I'll just say that it's approximately equal to 21.43%. So it's a little bit of a shell game, notwithstanding the fact that anyone who is working in banking, finance, etc., is required to state the annual percentage rate APR. You get, at some point, if you don't already get these, hopefully any high school kids aren't getting these, but somebody watching these videos could be getting solicitations from credit cards that have all this information, and they might say the stated interest is this or that, but what you want to know is the APR. And if they're using the discount method, they're going to have a higher interest rate. And credit cards would be another example of short-term financing, because you're borrowing money and in theory you're supposed to pay it back that month. If you just pay the minimum amount, it's going to take you a very, very long time to pay that back in most cases. Always, pretty much. But anyway, if somebody is using the simple interest method, they're going to give you a better APR. And in fact, in that case, it'll be equal to the stated interest rate. But chances are, if you hear the term stated interest rate, it's because they're playing a shell game and trying to rearrange things and say, well, yeah, the APR is this, but the stated interest rate is blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. you want to know the APR. And 21.43% is good for the bank, but 15% is good for you if you're the consumer or the borrower.